Hi there, Colin, aka the Tone Wizard, back again with the first of what I hope will be a number of videos in a series that I want to do about the band Ween. Now, if you've seen some other stuff on my channel, and as you can see on my desktop, my t shirt, and if you know me at all in person, I am a very big Ween fan. I do not profess to be the biggest Ween fan, like some of these guys on the boards and on the Facebook groups and stuff like that. I don't have any insider knowledge, and I'm not going to comment on something that I don't have firsthand knowledge of. I personally find a lot of those Facebook groups to be a little overbearing and pretty annoying, and a lot of them have just descended into like third-rate meme territory. So that's just my opinion. But like I say, I do have some first-hand experience with Ween, and I'm obviously a very big fan. I appreciate their music. I have the utmost admiration for their songwriting and musicianship. I think the swath of material that they put out is as diverse as anything anybody's put out, and there's so many little creative peaks and valleys in there. For anyone to enjoy. I think there's a Ween song for everybody in the world, no matter who you are. Even if you just find it, if you hear the Ocean Man song, and you just think that's a funny little song, or you just enjoyed the movie SpongeBob. There's so many facets to Ween that have probably been discussed to death. I personally got into Ween when a buddy of mine, John Irvin, gave me a mix CD. He just said that he thought that the songs that I was writing reminded him of what Ween was doing, as if I should be so lucky. But he gave me this mix CD, and it had like a huge kind of greatest hits compilation of Ween that he'd put together. And at first glance, when I put the CD in and I listened to it, I was from one song to the other. I thought they were just different bands, and I kind of didn't know what he was getting at. I thought he just made me a mix CD that he called Ween for some reason. But the first song that got me was "Even If You Don't." I just thought that was like a Queen, like kind of great rock song, and then that kind of got me to the next song and the next song, and my appreciation of that really grew over time to the point where I started to really love the band. So um, this episode that I want to do, this first episode, is going to be about the Meltdown concert. And it seems kind of maybe a little bit inappropriate to start a series about Ween with the Meltdown show, because that kind of represents for some people the low point of the whole Ween experience and the hiatus that they ended up having for the next 5 or 6 years. But to me, that was the first Ween show that I'd ever been to, and it was kind of when I was teetering on the fence from going all into the kind of Ween thing. I was like a casual fan. They were coming to town. I got tickets. They were only $50. In an age even back then in 2011, I think I saw REM or something like that, and those tickets were $120, and that was not a very good show either. And nobody got incredibly messed up, and their band walked off, and the Ween show was still probably a better show than that REM show. But again, that's just my opinion. But I was at the show, so like I say, I feel qualified to talk about that little part of Ween anyways. Through going to shows and talking to different people, I've heard a lot of rumors about what happened to Gene that day, and I don't know the guys. Like I say, a lot of Ween fans will profess to have some kind of little in or something like that, and I don't have anything like that. So I'm not going to talk about how that may have happened or why or what happened after. I'm just going to talk about the actual event because I was there in person, and like I say, I do feel qualified to talk about it. So here's my ticket as proof that I was there in case anybody does not believe me. And yeah, it was Monday, January the 24th of 2011. It was my first Ween show. I was very excited. Girl I was dating at the time was not so into it, but she loved to smoke weed, and it was funny to her while she was smoking weed. We got to the show. Now, I made the mistake of thinking that it would be like any other show, that you get there, there'd be an opener, you could kind of mill around, get some drinks in you and all that good stuff, and then go in. But I was actually wrong about that. So I went and got a t-shirt and looked at some other stuff. And then I went to the washroom to try and pour a Mickey of rum into a 500 milliliter bottle of Coke. I think I was already a little tipsy at this point, so there was no convincing me that that wouldn't work. I ended up spilling half of it everywhere. But as I was pouring the rum into my Coke, I heard Transdermal Celebration start, and I was like, fuck, I love that song. I got to get in there. And anecdotally, there were like four guys in the stall beside me, and they seemed to be blowing each other's noses or sniffling or something like that. I'll leave that to your imagination, but that kind of sets the mood because when I got into the actual show and found my seats, a buddy of mine who was there, who didn't have tickets beside me, was just standing where my seats were, and everybody was just kind of standing. It was a really loose atmosphere, and the air was just thick with weed smoke, and people were just messed up. And that's something that through going to Ween shows over the next couple of years when they reunited, I would come to see that a lot of Ween fans are really fucked up, like by substances. I'm sure they're great people. Most of them are. I've talked to quite a few, but people will get really friggin' loose at Ween shows. And so anyways, I got what I could of my rum into the Coke bottle. I went in, I started power drinking. I was smoking weed. Transdermal Celebration was just kind of finishing. And then, things slowly started to take a strange turn. Now, I'd never seen Ween. I knew they were kind of a trippy band. So I had no reason to expect that maybe, them going a bit off the rails was anything out of the ordinary. I did notice some strange things about the way the band kind of seemed to be interacting, but bands that are out on the road for a long time can be a little grumpy with each other too. So nothing kind of set me off. Now I'm going to open up this here. This is the archives.org. I think it's archive.org. It's the full set list of the show from that day, and there's actually a recording on there. Now, I obviously didn't put this up here myself. Kudos to whoever did. I looked at who had put it up, but it just sets the artist. It doesn't say who uploaded, or maybe I need to dig in a little deeper to find that, but thank you to whoever did that. I don't own this, but I did download the zip file with all the audio from the show to kind of listen to it. And it's, it's not the best audio, but I can definitely hear some things that I remembered. But anyways, I guess by the time I got in, I'd already missed 3 songs: Fiesta, Take Me Away, and Mr. Richard Smoker. So I got in there and they were going through Pony, and Pony's a pretty trippy song anyway. So like I say, things were kind of going a little strange, and the atmosphere was pretty messed up on the crowd side. So I had no reason to believe at that point that anything seriously strange was going on. They played Gabrielle. It was a little bit of a mess, but it kind of is a little bit of a mess, that song. And I thought, you know what, maybe Ween's just come from east to west, and this is like they got a break the next day and they're getting a little loose, or they're a little tired or whatever. So, I wasn't really that suspect of what was going on. After Gabrielle, they did Piss Up a Rope and Tender Situation. Piss Up a Rope is a Mickey song, and Jeaner kind of did seem a little messed here and there. The problems for me, I started to notice during Learning to Love. I mean, that song, you can kind of just be like, you could probably get through that just doing that sort of thing. But Bananas and Blow, I thought, was a little rough, and I did start to notice some of the tinge to his voice here. So I'm going to see if I can get that up. And again, these are the recordings that I have from the archive.org. So I don't own these recordings. Thank you very much to whoever did own them. But take a listen to Bananas and Blow. And you can kind of hear the tinge of his voice quite a bit.
Seen it.
Okay, so I'm not going to play too much of that. It's not the best recording here, but basically you can kind of hear how nasally his voice is, and there's been speculation as to what he was doing that caused that. But again, I'm not going to spread rumors or anything like that. I mean, obviously, depending who you talk to, they recorded a whole album huffing Scotchgard, so there's definitely that sort of myth attached to Ween, anyways, and it's very likely that he was messed up in some way for the show. But anyway, so around there, I started to notice things were getting wrong. And then moving into Buckingham Green, I think he messed up quite a bit of the lyrics. And as they progressed to Mutilated Lips, I think he completely screwed that up. And then Mickey kind of took over again and did My Own Bare Hands. I believe Mickey sang that one. And then Your Party went by. It wasn't the best. And they did Let's Dance. I don't have much of a recollection about that. But here's where it started to become truly unhinged from what I can remember. Like, it did not sound good. And that being said, when they did Transdermal Celebration, it wasn't all together. I mean, maybe that was a little, a little rough, to be fair. But anyways, I don't want to drag the guy through the mud again. We'll talk a little bit about the end of that, because there's been, in some ways, kind of, in my opinion, kind of promoting that part of somebody's legacy, and it might kind of bring them to a place, if they are exposed to that they don't want to go to again. I mean, I've had my own struggles with certain stuff, and people like, oh man, you used to get fucked up back in the day, and it's not really the best thing to relive, and it's not something that most people enjoy celebrating. But again, I can't speak for them, so I don't know anything about that. But it did start to come unhinged right around here, right around Reggae Junkie Jew. Things started to get weird. I think he was trying to play a tambourine or something like that, and he was falling over. They did an instrumental cover of the Carpenters that I have no memory of, because in all honesty, I may have been getting a little messed up by this point here. In fact, I do remember somebody pulled out. It wasn't a cross joint. It was a star joint. It was some crazy friggin' joint. I don't smoke weed anymore. This is probably one of the last good weed smoking times I had, and maybe in retrospect, Ween somehow has ruined marijuana for me. But anyways, I like getting things done throughout the day and enjoying a nice, aware evening. So not sad to be not smoking weed anymore. But anyways, the big point for me that I remember things going to absolute crap was during Freedom of 76. I just thought, like, he was just like not hitting the high parts, and at one point he just kind of looked at the crowd and went, I don't know what's going on here. But it was pretty rough, so we'll just take a look.
Thank you very much, Vancouver.
I mean, you know what? Robert Plant could, oh yeah, and whoa, Lord, and scream his way out of any jam. And you know what? The Jeaner got through it. It wasn't that bad, but I do remember it kind of start and stopped. And again, I don't want to drag them through the mud. I mean, they've got nothing left to prove to any of us at this point. But that's definitely where things went awry. Now, they did Ace of Spades. I seem to remember them doing Woman and Man at some point, but maybe these shows have bled together. But I do know they did a really long instrumental, and I could be wrong here. Maybe one of you guys knows out there, but I thought they did Woman and Man or something like that. And I had this memory of Jeaner coming out with a megaphone at some point. So if anybody has any memory of that or knows where it is on the recordings here, I might listen to these later. But if anybody has any memory of that, just let me know. But yeah, they did Ace of Spades, and then the band kind of walked off the stage, and I think maybe their contractual obligation had been met by then, or maybe they just didn't give a fuck anymore and they left. And then Jeaner started with Birthday Boy and I Don't Want It, and Sarah and Kansas City Star and Don't Sweat It. And if you heard in those recordings, and I'll pull up Birthday Boy here, people were just screaming away. People were happy because Ween, I think, is so important to some people. There's some degree of idol worship going on there, and I think they'd be happy to see him up there drinking an apple juice and reading the paper. Like I don't think that there's, I don't think they need to do much anymore. They just show up and go up, and it works out pretty good for them. I think I was watching a Dave Chappelle special the other day, and he just said, you know what? Before a show, he's like, I sit there and I'm pretty sure it's going to go good for me that night. I think it was the last Netflix special he was saying that, and I think Ween's ascended to that level where everybody who comes to those shows is already fully invested. So there's people there for the first time, like I was myself, that don't know what to expect, but you can sense the reverence in the crowd. And one thing I will say is that people were losing their minds still, even when he was up there performing, in this state. And you can just listen to the crowd. So, I remember one time I played a festival on Vancouver Island, and me and the band I was with, we were supposed to go on at a certain time, and there was some kind of power problem with the stage. So 2 hours went by, and we were not getting drunk, and we didn't think the stage was going to get put together. So finally, after like 2 hours, we started drinking, and we dropped some acid. I mean, the other guys did. I wouldn't do something like that, but we dropped some acid, and we got up there, and it kicked in, and nobody liked what we were doing. Nobody had the reverence that people have for Ween for us. And I knew we were bad, and it was horrible. It wrung me out to dry. But imagine if Gina was in some kind of state and he was up there and he was a little messed up, and people are just screaming and clapping and losing their minds. Why wouldn't you take the solos? Because he was up there just playing his guitar, sitting down, lying down at some point, taking the solos. Like if he was, whether it was a good place or a bad place, again, I can't say for him, but whatever was going on for him up there, with all those people screaming, it seemed like he was enjoying himself. So yeah. So that was my direct recollections of the show. And I do remember I walked out, I think, somewhere during I Don't Want It and Sarah, because I actually don't know those songs very well. I'm kind of not into those aren't my favorite sort of parts of Ween. But I remember walking out and up to a drinking fountain, and a friend of mine was there, Mikey, and he was having a good night too, shall we say. And he was just stood by this water fountain, and his arms were down, and he's like, Colin. And I was like, hey, Mike, what's going on? And he was just like, I don't know what's happening in there. And I was like, I don't know what's happening in there either. And then we went and drank some rum in the bathroom that I had still concealed in my pants. So we went off and had some pants rum, and we came back, and the show had kind of ended, or they turned the lights on them, or whatever had happened. But that's my recollection of the infamous Gene Meltdown show. Now, I'll post some links to some stuff I was looking at, and I got a picture of the ticket that I'm going to put up, and maybe a picture of the shirt that I bought there, because it was my favorite shirt. And I've worn it basically. It was black. It's almost gray now. But I was checking out this site, archive.org. It's a great site for live shows. The reunion shows are up there. Everything is up there. It's a really great site, and you've got kind of some user kind of reviews and stuff for some of these. But I was also, here's some pictures. That's the endearing picture of the man that I remember. I didn't take this picture. These are just a Google search. So please do not. This is the same site I have open here. Sorry about that. But anyways, this site here is pretty cool. This is from monsterfresh.com. And it's kind of a pretty in-depth kind of look at things. There's some stuff in here about what may have happened and who said what, and some band drama stuff that I'm not interested in. And there's some comments down here which are kind of interesting. But what they do post, and again, I couldn't say what was going on. But these posts on Twitter by Gene Ween kind of allude to the state of mind that he may have been at the time. But he also kind of sings in tongues and kind of talks in poetry in a lot of the songs. So it's hard to say what was going on if he was just having a mess with us or if he was really messed up. But some of these tweets here are a little intense. Give me a call. He posts the number to the hotel, number 911, his room number. Can't sleep. Is it a full moon or Skippy peanut butter? Not sure. Maybe he ate some sugary peanut butter before bedtime. That'll keep anyone up. Did it ruin the show on the 24th? We'll never know. This stuff here is just some general commentary. But yeah, this is Monster Fresh. I'll post a link to this site where you can check that out. And then I also, before I was doing this, I kind of thought I would check out some local stories that were done. This is the Georgia Straits, a local entertainment newspaper magazine thing that we have here in Vancouver, and it's like the Cole's Notes kind of written by a journalist version of what happened that evening. So that is my recollection of the Ween Meltdown. If you have anything contradicting what I've said, if you were there yourself, if you've heard something or whatever, let me know in the comments below. I would love to have a discussion about that. I have nothing better to do, clearly. And yeah, let me know. If you want to check out my channel too, I got a lot of music-related stuff, gear-related stuff. I'm doing some Ween tutorials. If there's a Ween tutorial you'd like me to post, check that out. And I'll also put a link to my buddy Mike, not the guy who was all messed up by the water fountain, but my other buddy Mike, who was probably messed up by a water fountain there too at some point. I'll put a link to his channel. He does a lot of cool tutorials. Anyways, my name's Colin Lamb, aka the Tone Wizard. Please subscribe to my channel or give the video a like, or any kind of comment, like I say, is cool too. Thank you for watching the video, and take care of yourself, because we're just one bottle of Skippy peanut butter away from the other end, let me tell you, folks.